All right, welcome back in, everybody. The NFL talk was too long on a hiatus, so we're coming back at you live. We're gonna plan on Tuesday nights because ain't much shit going else on other than the MLB. So you're tapped into the right spot to get that early NFL talk. Coming at you live on Twitter at Sunday Morning QBs, not the usual Daily Bread Media. That's where the show is on YouTube and the hub, whatever you want to call it, the NFL outlet of Daily Bread Media. We got our three analysts returning for us for another season. Plus, we picked up a bunch of them, but we're bringing you back who you know, who you see, Bullpen, Goose, and Steven coming at you live. We got three things to talk about tonight. Keep it quick and simple. Probably get out of here in 45 minutes to an hour, but it's never too early to talk NFL. Make sure to give us that like, retweet, subscribe, follow, whatever the hell you want to do. Definitely helps us get the show out there. But Sosa, we're kind of back. It's the off season. Basically, did this all last season until the Sundays debuts where the big stuff is. But how are you doing?
I'm feeling great, man. NBA season just ended, straight into Major League Baseball and football for me because baseball is cool and everything, but I don't go crazy every day betting it. And I think that football is obviously the best sport ever. So, as far as like just for me, I enjoy it more than any other sport. But other than that, yeah, man, a lot of changes, a lot of wholesale changes for a lot of NFL teams during the offseason, a lot of movement of coaches, a lot of new faces, new places, however else you want to say it. A lot of money exchange in this offseason. The most money in the history of the NFL in one offseason that we've ever seen exchanged between players. It goes to show that the evolution of football is real, and now you have quarterbacks making baseball money. It's unfathomable 10 years ago that an NFL quarterback will be making the same annually as the highest paid baseball player on the planet. So if we put it in perspective for 10% of the work, that's pretty insane. Football is it rules the world. That's why we're fucking talking about it in June. So welcome
So, if
back
you
to
already don't know, this is the first time you're tapping in. Our man Bullpen is our Browns correspondent. Each of the guys and ladies have a squad they're responsible for, but in the summer, we let them get wild. They can talk about whoever the hell they want to, but on game day, they they highlight their matchup. Bullpen, very eventful offseason for you. Could potentially be one of the worst trades in NFL history, but you're still hype about the Browns, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was shocked when they pulled the trigger for Watson. Absolutely shocked, as were a lot of people. Now, as far as the suspension, the legal stuff, I don't know all that. I ain't called his lawyer or checked in with his reps or anything like that. So we'll just hope for the best. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of sad that they gave up on Baker. I mean, he was hurt. I feel like he could have played better if he wasn't. They had 1 year left on his deal. I mean, technically, he's still a Brown. I doubt if we'll see him on the field, but I'd like to if Watson's suspended. I'd love that. But other than that, they got rid of my guy Case Keenum, so that's kind of disappointing also. But Brissett's decent, and if Watson gets on the field, I think we're in for some fireworks. Even if he doesn't, I mean, they got the O line, they got a slew of running backs, so I think they'll be fine. And yeah, I'm fired up about the season. I'm fired up about the show. My second year, pretty exciting stuff. I'm glad you guys had me back.
Well, it's pretty good that we have Goose and Steven joining with us, and we didn't make this episode just thinking about them because our agenda is who's going to take the sophomore step, who's going to take the sophomore slump, and first year head coaches. So we got Goose with the Jags, Steven with the Bears. So they fit perfectly into both of those. And then we'll talk about some win totals early, maybe not some cash locked in, but that's always the best type of round table talk. We'll go back and forth. But Goose, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited for this football season. I gave Urban Meyer a try for the Jaguars. I couldn't have imagined it being that bad with everything that's coming out. But if it was that bad, it only can go up from here. So I feel like it's going to be a strong football season for the Jaguars. I'm excited. Trevor Lawrence, he's like my child. I'm so excited to see him grow. And yeah, we're out here.
Goose, how many active Rutgers grads are currently in the NFL?
Well, we got the McCourties. Sanu just signed somewhere. But no, there is a young rookie who could be a nice sleeper for the Chiefs. I wish Chuck was here. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco. He could take over that backfield, but I'll leave that.
Did the punter get drafted?
Nah, he's coming back for another year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who did you say could take someone's job?
Isaiah Pacheco. He's a running back for now the Chiefs. He had no O-line and still broke out some 70-yard runs in Big Ten play.
Okay.
Goose, I didn't have the number off. I tried to Google it because I thought of it mid in the intro, but it worked out much better than I thought. Steven, we got to have some positivity behind these Bears. So how you doing? Been a long time since the college hoop season.
Well, I mean, at least the Bears are trying to get younger, younger-ish head coach. At least feels younger because he's new. That's really all that matters. New GM, second-year quarterback, younger offensive line. I mean, that's the only thing I can really say I'm excited for. It's like I'm excited for what I could see in like 3 years.
Oh.
We'll get him positive about the Bears. I feel like once they win week 1, he'll be locked in and ready. So we said, we're going to go through the sophomore class. We might have 1 or 2 answers for each of these. Whatever we want to talk about, we can debate it of the breakout sophomores. Then we're going to talk about the first-year head coaches, who's going to succeed, who's going to fail, and then the win totals. So let's just start it off. Always got to start positive. The breakout sophomores. I think I might have the only defensive player on this list, but bullpen, we'll start it with you. Who's your breakout sophomore stud?
Anthony Schwartz, my guy, Auburn. He, last year I was high on him. They got him in the 3rd round. He's a speedster. And going into camp last year, he was battling an ankle injury, foot, whatever. It really slowed him up. It's tough for those rookies to miss any camp at all preseason. They need those reps. And then with the whole Baker fiasco, he just didn't really get a fair shake. And all season he struggled with that ankle injury. And he did finally end up getting a touchdown at the end of the season. But if he has a legit quarterback, I think he's going to do big things this season. I really think he's a legit number 2. I really do.
I can dig that. I think Schwartz is going to be pretty fucking good too.
Anthony Schwartz, yes, sir. I like over on all his props. I haven't actually checked them yet, but I just think that a lot of people they won't see it coming. You know what I mean? Like DFS, he'll be low on to start the season. You can probably get some good touchdown props on him, some numbers. And if you're Watson, Brissett, whoever's back there, he's going to be open. They got Cooper on the other side. They got Chubb in the backfield. Njoku is going to be running in the middle of the field. Schwartz could be that guy. Now, can he stay healthy? Who's going to throw him the ball? This, that, and the other. That would be my offensive guy. As far as defense goes, and I know JOK, my boy, he had a great season, but it was not what we were expecting. Like I thought he was going to be, and don't get me wrong, it was great. He did great. But again, he battled some injuries. And so if he stays healthy, I expect bigger things out of him, like maybe a Pro Bowl, maybe.
Ooh, calling for a Pro Bowl for JOK. Sosa, do you have someone from the Niners or do you have someone else?
It's not from the Niners. I mean, I do have a couple guys that could play well, but we're not really depending on any second-year guy, to be totally honest. Everybody that we have that we're really asking for, and I'm not going to count Trey Lance. Trey Lance is going to be a superstar in the NFL. It's just a matter of time. I'm not really worried about that. If we're talking I can't really say jump from 1 year to year 1 to year 2 with him. He didn't start a full season. He played 2 games. He started 2 games, and one was against Seattle, and the other was against the Texans. He didn't play particularly well against the Texans. There are Niners fans who will lie to you and say that he did. That's incorrect. He did not play well. We just happened to win the game. That's the truth. He's got all the athletic talent that you could ask for in a quarterback. 6'4", about 230, can run a 4.4, 4.5. So, yeah, he's a special athlete. It has to translate on the field, though, and I think he's in the most quarterback-friendly offense you can possibly ask for. They weren't asking Jimmy Garoppolo to go out there and make plays. They just basically said hand the ball off and make sure you don't fuck it up. I do like Trey Lance to have a great year, but my actual first year to second year guy who we actually saw play a lot last year is Trevor Lawrence. Because listen, the word generational gets thrown around so often now that we no longer really see who really is generational until they just play better than everybody. Now, there are people who are going to say he didn't play well, and I will say you don't know what the fuck you were looking at. He had no help, no talent, no running back, an incompetent head coach, players being played in positions they shouldn't have been playing in, just being set up for failure and still finding a way to look good in stretches, which is all you really can ask for. He had full command of the offense from day one. But when you don't have any talent around you, it's just not going to work. Shark got hurt, like 5 plays into his season?
Yeah.
Your number one receiver should not be Marvin Jones Jr. in the year of 2021.
Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah, it's absolutely unacceptable. They spent some money. They got a coach that actually knows quarterbacks in. It's going to be an offense that I think that Trevor Lawrence can be very, very, very successful in. And I have one more second-year guy that I really.
I was about to say, I'm glad you really went out on a limb for the first one. Who do you got for number 2?
Well, I mean, think about it. There's people who will say it's a coaching change and a system change and a bunch of other shit. And
I still don't think he has anything much around him where we're going to see a huge breakout.
Oh no, we're going to
because I still think we're going to see better play, but I don't think we'll see.
He going to win some games this year. No. Trevor Lawrence will win at least 7 games this year. I promise you.
You're over on the Jags win total.
Only today. He'll win a minimum of 7 games this year.
All right, Sosa. Will you have the play Jags over 6.5? Because I'm pretty sure that's exactly what their win total line is.
Oh, well, look at you.
Get into the show early.
On the later parts of the show. But personally, like I said, I love Trevor Lawrence. The second guy that I'm actually going to look at here is Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith had a good year last year. Obviously, Jalen Hurts missed him a lot because he looked like he was open every single time he ran a route. I do think that there's going to be a level of ascension. I do like A.J. Brown in the offense as well, but I just think that Devonta will be the number 1. I know people think of A.J. Brown as the number 1. He's not. He's not going to be the number 1, in my opinion, in Philadelphia. I think Devonta is a superstar. And again, I like the numbers last year. I like him to get well over 1,100 yards simply because I think that Jalen Hurts will be more accurate this year. I think he put work in as far as becoming a better passer, or not necessarily just a better passer, a better processor. Because if you look at the film of him against the Buccaneers, absolutely horrendous. One of the worst quarterbacking performances you'll ever witness with your 2 eyes, ever. And I'm not even joking. You would be hard pressed to find a worse quarterback job than what Jalen Hurts did in the playoff game against Tampa Bay, who I would like to remind you was the 29th ranked secondary in football, and he was utterly confused by them. Sorry, Rex. I know it sounds like I'm rubbing it in because I am, but
hey, the Bucs didn't run away with that game, so it really don't matter at the end of the day. That
sounds good, and whatever helps you sleep better at night, and whatever you want to believe, I don't believe that to be true in any capacity, but. Those are my 2 guys. First year to second year, I expect a level of ascension. Two superstars in the making.
Steven, who do you got for us?
All right. Well, I was also going to be on the Trevor Lawrence wagon, but I don't want to repeat what was just said. I also really do like Trey Lance, but I know Sosa had his piece on that already. I just know because Trey Lance he's going to bring a lot more explosive plays to the offense with his arm. Like Jimmy Garoppolo never really overwhelmed you or made it like any like really great throws. I think Trey Lance could do that, and he has the running, so I do like him. I also like Rashad Bateman to take a bigger step in Baltimore. I just he has a better frame at wide receiver at like 6'2", 210 than Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown's always had his drop problems, and if teams really want to be that focused on Mark Andrews, I think it's going to be Rashad Bateman. That's the one in that offense that ends up taking the step.
I was about to say that was the name that you heard out in fantasy and everywhere last season, where he was the diamond in the rough. Maybe this season with the full second year off season to come more up to speed. And secondly, Hollywood had, I think he was 10th in targets last season. So with him being out there, there's a bunch to go around, even though they do like to dump it off to the running backs or tight ends as well. Goose, who do you have?
So my first player, he didn't even play last year. Still calling him a sophomore though, because I really want to talk about Travis Etien. I'm very excited about him. The other first round draft pick of the Jaguars. I guess it'd be 2 seasons ago now, or last season. But yeah, this running back is going to be special. They're having him work a lot on routes, on receiving plays, because he's going to be just a weapon out the backfield. You're going to see him run the ball 15 times and catch 5 passes a game, because as we mentioned, the Jaguars don't have too many weapons. So they have to rely on players like Christian Kirk, who got the bag, and Travis Etien. Unfortunately, James Robinson tore his Achilles last year. I'd be shocked if he plays this year, but I guess he's gonna, because I've been seeing him in fantasy football mock drafts, James Robinson. But yeah, he tore his Achilles maybe week 15 of last year. It's gonna be awesome if he plays this year. I mean, we saw what Cam Akers did, but Cam Akers is an outlier. So this is going to be Travis Etienne's backfield. I expect him to be a PPR machine in fantasy football. I expect him to get a lot of the rushing yards. Who knows? Maybe he won't be the red zone guy. So maybe in fantasy wise, he won't get the touchdown bonuses, but he's going to get a lot of yards this season because the Jaguars lack playmakers, and Doug Peterson's very creative. I did want to touch on one other rookie.
Before you move on, Goose, I thought about that. Doug doesn't like to give the running backs the rock that much. So that's where, and my other concern with him was just pass blocking, because Etien was probably the first name that jumped out to me when I was thinking about it, especially when you have the zero floor that anything is the next step. So he was probably my honorable mention there. It was just more of how is him and Peterson going to mesh, because you saw him bring in Scott a decent amount when he's with the Birds. So that's where Sanders was never the workhorse that fantasy people want, or that the Eagles fans wanted. So that's where Etienne's definitely one. I was a little bit too questionable on it, but I definitely agree with where you're going.
Y'all also thought he was Saquon Barkley, but never mind. You got it.
I want to touch on a defensive player that I'm very excited about, and that's Christian Barmore on the Patriots. I just been in love with the prospect since he was at Alabama. He had a great year for the Patriots last year, and he's a pass rushing defensive tackle for the most part. And in that division, you have the Bills, who don't like to run the ball that much, the Dolphins, who are probably going to throw it a lot with this new offense, especially like left and right. And then you're going to have the Jets, who they do have some running backs in that room, but they also have that huge investment in quarterbacks. So I think in the division, Christian Barmore can do great damage throughout the whole season under a Bill Belichick team. And yeah, I should have looked at his stats for sacks, but I could see him having 8 sacks as a defensive tackle this year.
So 2 surprises. No one mentioned Wilson or Elijah Moore. Those are the 2 names I was expecting to hear on here, because Moore was probably the name that had the most hype last season, especially that 3-game span he went on before he picked up the injury. Then they kind of just held him out for safety precautions. And then this is maybe not too early for the Zach Wilson year, but a lot of hype behind him. So you can give me either one of those for the offense, just so they can be mentioned, so Jets fans don't hate us. But I'm going defensive end, and I'm going Kwity Paye. I think he will easily double his number in sacks. He had 4 last season. I think he'll have 8. Under Gus Bradley there as the now defensive coordinator, and when he has Buckner and Njoku there, I think he's going to have all the room to go off that left edge because he has that burst of speed. He just started slow. He did pick up a hamstring injury, but with the 2 pieces that went out for last season, he's going to be the first string. What?
What did you say?
Quiddy Pay.
Huh?
Quiddy Pay.
Oh, okay. My fault.
Yeah, the Colts DN. I think he's going to have a great year under Bradley because he likes to send them from the edge, and with Buckner and Njoku there, or
Yannick Ngakoue, yeah.
Yeah, Ngakoue there. I think that's where he's going to have all the time to feast off that edge this season.
That's why I got confused. When you said Njoku, I'm like, who plays DN for the Browns? But that's why I got confused. Sorry.
Well, that's who I had. So let's go to the sophomore slumps. I'll stick it with mine. I'm going with Amari Rodgers from the Packers wide receiver. He was really only featured as a punt returner last season. They traded up to get him in the 3rd round. And Rodgers has usually made the late round pick show from this draft where they took 2 guys that basically look like they're going to replace him. And in the LaFleur offense, he likes to have the tight end stacked. I just don't know where he's going to come in. He only ended up with 4 catches for about 44 yards last season. When you trade up 2 picks, especially to get him, and when he was the punt returner, he fumbled twice. Just didn't have any explosion that they wanted coming out of Clemson. Everyone thought he was going to be the guy, but each season he kept falling down the totem pole. But his senior year, he still had 7 touchdowns and looked, I guess, solid. But T-Law couldn't get him up into the draft. It kind of seems why. He just seems completely unathletic at this point. I just don't see where the touches are going to be for him in the Packers wide receiver room where it seems like there could be touches to be stolen, and he looks like he's stuck in the slot. And with Cobb still there, I don't see Rodgers getting much time at that spot. Who wants to go with their sophomore slump?
I got a quarterback that I'll talk about. So first off, I'd consider Davis Mills to perform as one of the best rookie quarterbacks last year. He had some pretty good stats, a lot of garbage time stats though, and the team was just a mess in the Texans. But I have a lot of Gardner Minshew vibes with him, whereas in Gardner Minshew his first year put up these great numbers, and then year 2 came back. The team had some hope and was horrible and led us to Trevor Lawrence. I can see Davis Mills having that kind of year where there is some buzz, in my opinion, to him. I think, like I said, he put up some good numbers. He had some 300-yard games. But I just think that whole situation that he's in is going to make him take a step back.
That one's not too hard to argue against, especially when you get the full year of film on him and he coming in knowing he's the guy. When he told him 2 years ago he'd be the starting quarterback of the NFL, he'd probably punch you in the face and say you're going crazy. Steven, who do you got?
I'm gonna go with a running back. I think Michael Carter is gonna fall off a fair amount with the Jets this year. Like he had a pretty good start to the season last year. He didn't play all that bad, but now that the Jets drafted Breece Hall, he's one of the guys who already felt pro ready. I think he can come in there, and the way that team's trending, I think he's a much better fit than Carter is for the Jets.
So, Seth, who do you got for us?
Year 1 to year 2 fall off. This one's tough for me.
I have a controversial one. I wanted to see if anyone else said it.
I know I know who you're picking.
I already gave Amari Rodgers, but I have an honorable one.
You're going to say Jamar Chase.
Nope. Najee. I don't think Najee Harris clips 1,200.
I think he gets better. I think he goes up and gets better. That's the thing. I was contemplating him, but I think he gets better. I mean, their quarterback situation was so fucking ass. I think got better. I think that the guy that's just going to be super mid is Mac Jones. Like, I don't think that ascension or because that's the only guy. Like I'm thinking about guys that really performed last year. Like I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a good year. I think he'll be better. Elijah Mitchell, like barring injury, I mean he should be better. And I like the Michael Carter falling off because Breece Hall is going to be the number one back from day one as long as he's healthy because he's the most talented back by a mile in the building. But I mean, Mac Jones for me, I think he's going to be mid forever. He doesn't move the meter for me unless if Bill has like this grand scheme or idea where he just thinks that he's going to game manage his way to like more titles. Given the extreme athletes that play quarterback now, I think that's kind of a pipe dream in 2022. I mean, you see it across the league. Like the statue guys don't last long anymore. Well, they last long, but they don't win. Except for Brady because he's Brady. But you know what I mean? Like look at the guys in the division. Like you got to move more, man. Like. No, there's no more Brady's. You can't try to duplicate something that happened a million times already. Like you just gotta go get an athlete.
So it doesn't like the safe option. That's what he's telling you there. Because I was about to say he didn't set the bar too high because it's not like he put up the numbers. The team was just winning it, and he was just I don't want to say game managing. He just wasn't making crucial mistakes. Was really the biggest thing, and they never put the ball in his hand and told him that like he had the one game winning drive, but past that. Bullpen, who do you have for us for who's going to slump?
Man, Sosa stole my glory. It was totally Mac Jones. I think the Dolphins will be better. The Bills are tough. I mean, the kid had a phenomenal season last year. It shocked all of us, obviously. I mean, the kid played out of his mind. There's just no way he duplicates that. There's just no way. So that was definitely my pick. And I love Newsome, the cornerback for the Browns, and he played great last year. Great. Like he hardly got targeted at all because he's that sick. But with Ward on the other side, he could be the best corner in the league. I could see Newsome getting picked on a little bit this year and maybe not duplicating what he did last season. I mean, I hope that's not the case because I literally love the kid, but it's going to be hard to duplicate the season he had last year. Like they wouldn't even throw it over there. Like they were just scared shitless of this guy. So if Ward's as good as we all think he is, Newsome could, see some more action and that could lead to him getting burned up a little bit. So I could see Newsome taking a step back. But Mac Jones was totally who I had wrote down. I just think he he definitely outkicked his coverage last season. Let's say that.
It's his middle name. Yes, it is short for McCorkle, though.
McCorkle.
Yeah, the Najee. That was the one who I was just saying because I just don't think he puts up 1,200 yards. I think he can get the receiving yards for it, but I just think they're going to be down too much film on him this season. Set the bar a little too high, which was just his only point. And even though Ben, I mean, he wasn't much, he at least still had the experience to a point and still when he let his brain completely take over from some plays. Travion Diggs is also a good one. Any thoughts on that?
It's hard to match that pick total. So it might, the stats wise, he'll slump, I think, but he could improve as a player. He light up so many big plays. But I think his stats are definitely going to dip because I forgot he led the league in interceptions, I think, and you just can't do that back-to-back years, in my opinion. It's just so hard.
Another name I was kind of surprised we didn't hear was Kadarius Toney, but it's also not too much to put out there in order to see if he's going to fall off or not.
Mm-hmm.
None of us like our offensive linemen either. No one's grinding that type of film.
I was thinking I think Jalen Waddle, I love the talent of Jalen Waddle. He's one of my favorite receivers, but the new coaching staff, new addition of Tyreek Hill, they might try to make Tyreek Hill an extra focal point because they put so much money in him. I hope Jalen Waddle gets the rock, and I love to do the Waddle when he gets a touchdown. I do it with him all the time. But I can see his numbers going down with 2 as the quarterback. No, so you think he'll keep it up?
I I think what they addressed all the things they needed in the offseason. They needed an offensive line. They went and spent a bunch of money on their offensive line. They went and got multiple running backs. They went and got running backs that fit the system that they put in place with McDaniel. I think McDaniel's like he's a genius, bruh. He's an extremely intelligent coach. Went to Yale. Could have done anything. He just decided to be a football coach. I mean, extremely intelligent dude. I think he's put himself in a really in an advantageous situation. Like I said, I like the upgrades. The defense played great. The crazy thing about Miami is that Miami had back-to-back seasons where they started the year so badly, and then they came on strong at the end. Like they go 6-1 to 7-1 back-to-back years to end the season. You got to think if they got anything out of the team the first 8 fucking weeks, they would have made the playoffs the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that
is he your coach that's in the best area for success as the rookie head coaches or first-year head coaches?
No, or I mean, the thing is that Dennis Allen's not. Dennis Allen is a first-year coach. Dennis Allen has the best situation of any coach by a country mile. He got an elite defense. He got an owner that went out and spent a shit ton of money at all the positions they needed. They get Michael Thomas back. They got Olave. They got Jarvis Landry. They got Ingram and Kamara in the backfield. Jameis, if he's healthy and protects the football, I mean, that's an 11-win team to me on floor-wise. I think they could win more than 11 games just because the defense is elite. But if you're talking about a coach that's set up, I mean, they lost Sean Payton. They kept the offensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator became the head coach. They got multiple all-pros all over the field. They got a good offensive line. I mean, they have, as far as talent, there's nothing holding New Orleans back. And remember, this New Orleans team owns Tom Brady, by the way.
Yeah.
They beat the shit out of him every time they play. So if we're talking about the division, I mean, Carolina's got Darnold. I mean, he sucks.
Yeah.
And then who am I forgetting? And then the Falcons they're the Falcons.
They got your guy Ritter. You're high on him during
He
the college football
stinks.
season.
He fucking stinks. We'll be drafting another quarterback next year. He fucking sucks.
So you're going with Dennis Allen. That one's tough to argue against. Bullpen, who's your coach?
That I think is going to do good or bad.
You can go either way. You can go with this one. Doesn't
Well,
really matter. There's only like 7 to talk about.
I might be a little biased from the St. Louis days, but I do like Lovie Smith. I just think he's a good all-around coach. He's got experience. I mean, the Texans he's working with a half a cup down there, but if anybody can get him to play, it'll be Lovie. I do like that. As far as a bust, the Hackett kid in Denver, it's just a tough division. I mean, you know, you got the Chargers, you got the Chiefs, you got it's just going to be tough for him coming in as a new coach to get anything going there. And I know they got some pieces, but you want to talk about a shitty situation. I mean, that's just a brutal division for him. I mean, he might not win a game. I mean, that it's that bad. So, I'm not high on the Texans, but I do like Lovie. I do think he knows what he's doing. He'll have control of the locker room. I've heard that he's a player's coach. I mean, Steve, you know, I mean, he was up there in Chicago. What do you think about Lovie Smith?
Got y'all to a Super Bowl, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I love the time he had there. I wasn't as impressed with him when he was at Illinois. I know he's probably just not really a college coach. I don't think he's there to try to
Illinois football,
guys, but
powerhouse.
Respectfully, when Ron Zook was there, he got like 5 first-rounders to show up on offense, right? Aurelius Ben, like what the fuck?
I mean, he's definitely
Illinois had their years like late 2000s, early 2010s, but like Lovie as just like a true X's and O's guy, I've always been a little bit more whatever on, but keeping like really good energy in the locker room, Lovie's great for that. And that might be what the Texans need right now, since they don't really have as much talent. You don't also want a mutiny in your locker room.
But you know what they do got is they got a lot of veteran players, and Lovie he'll have the knowledge to work with that. I think that they'll get more, even though they wasn't as bad last year as everybody thought they were going to be. I think that he'll get the most out of what he's got.
They also for I love that you brought him up. The Texans defense was pretty fucking good last year.
A lot better than we
The
expected.
defense was good. They have a really good offensive line. So it's not a team that I think is extremely far away from winning. I know they were bad and they pretty much tanked last year. But I mean, Davis Mills looked decent in stretches. Brandon Cooks is an unsung hero forever because he's been put to sleep like 5 times on the field. But they got some pieces on that team. I think, like I said, the division is stacked because you have they easily have the worst quarterback in the division, and they have the least talent across the board. But that's not a knock to the fact that they do have some talent. I still believe Stingley was the best pick in the draft. I think he was the best player in the draft. And I think.
So, Steven, who did you have as your coach that you want to talk about that's going to do well or that's going to struggle?
I think both the guys in the AFC West got put into good situations, good team situations, but in such a tough division, it's going to be a little bit tougher for them year one. But it's not like they're going to teams that just don't really have a ton of talent, where like they can't show how good they are as coaches, because like the talent's on both the rosters in Las Vegas and Denver, where if you're a good coach, you can show that that's still a really good team, even if they're playing such tough competition the majority of the year. And then, I don't think the Bears hired a bad coach. I don't really think he'll look as good as he could be, because it's tough to really scheme an offense when the offensive line isn't going to be able to really protect for you. So, like, if you really want to set up any longer developing offensive plays, you can't really show it when the quarterback's not going to have time. So I think it'll look worse for him than it probably is. I just don't think he's in a good situation in Chicago.
Goose, did you give yours yet?
No, and I'm liking Kevin O'Connell from the Vikings. I think he's going to be a pretty good head coach. He's 37 years old, and he's a former quarterback, and he's a former Patriot quarterback, and was only on the team for 1 year. But it's just like, I'm thinking Bill Belichick saw something in his brain, and that's why like he drafted him at a young age, and the dude fizzled out in the league. But from everything I'm reading, he sounds like he has a great football mind, and I think that's going to help Kirk Cousins. They have some talent on the team. We all know Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook is there. I think if you can just bring out a little more in Kirk Cousins, that this could be a good Vikings team, which will make him look like a good head coach. And just looking back at the Vikings last season, they had 9 losses. 8 of them were one-possession games, 8 points or less. Like, they were in a lot of games. They had 2 overtime losses, and they had a 1-point loss, a 2-point loss. Like, this team could have been pretty decent last year, the Vikings. And now I think they get a nice offensive mind head coach. So I'm pretty high on Kevin O'Connell and excited to see the Vikings this year.
Ooh. He was the toughest one that I wasn't sold on either way, just because I think the machine that is Mr. 500 Kirk Cousins might finally start to go on the wrong side of the hill this year. He is in a tough situation where everything is there for him to be a 10-win team, and all the expectations are this is a playoff team with the offensive weapons that they have. They should overcome their defensive liabilities, but if he could do it, Goose, then he's easily going to take it, because if he brings them to the playoffs, that's where it is. I just don't know what it is, and I think it's just because of the Kirk Cousins at the quarterback situation where he might just tread water his first year, because that's what Kirk does. He's technically not a first-time head coach, but it's the first year at the Bucs as the head guy. Todd Bowles is going to have the most pressure, which I think it puts him in the least advantageous scenario, even though he's probably the most veteran of all of them. As simple as that. It's great when you're the number 2. When you become the number 1 on the team that has the Super Bowl aspirations, Tom Brady can carry him there. But since he wasn't mentioned, I had to bring him up. He has the most pressure, not saying he's the one that's most likely to fail or succeed, but he will be the one that easily takes home this category come the end of the season with how the Bucs end the year. Because all the other guys you talked about is great. It's going to be all about bowls because it's all about Brady and Mahomes. Win totals. Do you want to do win totals or do you want to wrap it up here? Does anyone have a team or a win total they're itching to talk about? If not, I think we
They
can
don't.
call it a wrap.
I couldn't find one on the Browns, but I like the over, whatever they set it at.
Over, I don't care where it's at. Goose, the Connell one was probably going to be the one who I think could fail because they have their win total at 9.5, and I just don't see the Vikings winning 10 games next year.
That is a lot. I didn't see
I see them at 9.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was just saying because if I had to make a segue, that's where I was going to go with. I think the Vikings haven't put any cash on it. Yeah, I'm just not sold in that defense. Cook can carry it. Really doesn't matter. You have the weapons on the outside. Just don't know about that defense. Anyone else got a win total?
I'm looking. I have
Yeah,
one.
I actually kind of like the Jets win total over, which is a little scary to say, but I never really hated that defense. If Zach Wilson just becomes average, I like the weapons they have now in the receiving
That's
core
6.5.
in the backfield. They built out the offensive line well enough. I think right now I'm seeing it at 5.5, which is super juice. So I'm not gonna take it right now because it's showing -165, which I would never do. But like if I can find an alternate and get it at 6.5, I think they can get to 7 or 8 wins this year.
We got Saints over 8.5 in the chat. Solid one in my opinion as well. You just gotta rely on Jameis. Sosa, you got any for us other than the Niners under 10.5?
I love the team that I really love is New Orleans. I think I spoke a little bit about them. I think they're a 12-win team. I really do. I think, like I said, their defense is going to be elite. Their offense, was anemic considering that they had a bum-ass receiver playing quarterback some games. I just personally believe that this New Orleans team is good. Their ownership group has put a shit ton of money behind the team, and I expect some level of positive results. I do believe in this. I do believe in this Saints team.
Goose, while you're still coming up with the last one, Chargers at 10.5, juiced over at a -140 as well. The Herbert hype is real on that one. I don't know. The Chargers had their down year last year just because that's when they didn't make it, but 10.5. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I would almost say I would take every AFC West team's win total under, mostly just because I think they're going to end up cannibalizing themselves, and the top 3 teams are all either 10 or 10.5. Like, I don't think 3 teams from that division are going to end up with 11 wins. And I think if they all end up splitting with each other, there might only be one team that gets to 10 or 11 wins in that division.
Goose, who you liking after? I got one more.
If it's still at 7.5, because that's what I saw it at, I think about last month. I like the Commanders under. Especially with the Jack Del Rio stuff. Like, this defense was a mess last year, first off. And now, like, they're going to be an extra mess. You think they're going to be good?
I know they're going to be good.
The Commanders?
Yes.
But they got Carson Wentz.
So what the fuck does that mean? He didn't have a bad year. See, that's the problem. People are that's the crazy part to me. He did not have bad
turnovers.
He didn't just have bad turnovers. He had the worst turnovers. Like, literally the worst turnovers at the worst point, at the worst moment of the game turnovers. He also had a very strict stand on COVID, which cost him a game. And then we got to see Jacksonville on Hard Knocks when all the players wanted to whoop his fucking ass for blowing the game against Jacksonville. We saw that. Dog, what quarterback do you know goes 27-7 touchdowns to interceptions and gets fucking traded? There are only 2 quarterbacks that had a better touchdown to interception ratio than Carson Wentz last year. Aaron Rodgers and Kirk fucking Cousins.
The vibes are he's unlikable, though. That's what they said in Philly.
Yeah,
That's what they're saying in Indianapolis.
Listen, I believe that. I believe that. But the whole organization in Washington is unlikable. And if they want to fucking win, they need a quarterback. All right? If they need a competent quarterback to win. Dog, they were winning games with Taylor fucking Heineke. He stinks. Like, he took Tom Brady to the brink in a fucking playoff game. Could you imagine if they had a guy who didn't have his head up his ass all the time? Like throughout a 16-game season, they'd be really fucking good. The team's loaded. Best defensive line in football across the board, talent-wise.
Yeah, but they had all that talent, but they were just trash last year.
Right. And listen, I agree with that. I agree.
Also, that was the whole Alex Smith.
Chase got hurt. Right. Chase got hurt. Bro, they had a guy with 1.5 legs playing quarterback. Like, I'm serious. And so, again, as far as from a talent standpoint, both sides of the ball, I think Washington's going to be pretty fucking good. And then they play in the most inconsistent division in football. Nobody ever wins it back-to-back. Am I lying, Rex?
Nope.
Right. So, again, it's just the way things go in that division. As long as Washington has a competent quarterback, I think that Carson Wentz is a competent quarterback. I think that,
until they get a real field, that's their only advantage.
I like Carson Wentz better than Jalen Hurts. I know that. Like,
really?
Last time I seen Jalen Hurts on a football field, he looked
Last time we saw Carson Wentz on the football field, they lost to the Jaguars in the clown out.
You do realize also that they've lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars at Jacksonville the last 9 times, right? Aren't you a fan?
Oh, I love that stat.
Right.
Yeah.
So it happens every year. It's like it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Right. I'd rather have Hurts than Wentz. I think Wentz is dust. I thought it last year. I just don't think the guy's good at football. I mean, and the stats, yeah, he had good stats. Whatever. The stats, I mean,
I feel you. No. He might just be a scrub. Like he might not have it. I feel you.
He just can't play in mid-game. Is his issue. He can't just play average. He either plays extremely well or extremely terrible. And he just doesn't have the consistent safe enough that you need to get it through. He had the flashes. He had the first injury, and ever since then, he's been looking behind him, and it's just the locker room issue is the biggest thing.
But his mobility is huge. I want a mobile quarterback, and he's young.
His mobility used to be wild until he broke his back and tore his ACL.
Yeah, I still think I'd take Hurts over Wentz.
The Seahawks is the last one I want to talk about before we get out of here. 5.5 even money on the under you can get.
Drew Lock. That's a lock to go under.
I know it's the NFL. I know teams find their way to 6 wins, to 5 wins, to 4 wins. The Seahawks at 5.5 at an even money under. That's the one that just seems too good to be true.
It's tough.
Listen, I think that I'm glad that this is something I want to say when Goose was speaking. I'm very happy that you mentioned Kevin O'Connell, man. I think that he's going to be something serious. I think he's a great football mind. I also think he will make Kirk Cousins not be such a pussy.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll take the other side.
It's a winnable division too.
Listen, it's all about if you watch Kirk play, Kirk will just eat the ball and take sacks and not be aggressive down the field. That ain't gonna fly with Kevin O'Connell. You got to let that bitch fly. And I think that Minnesota offense can really be something crazy. I mean, you got top 5 running back, top 5 receiver, top 5 receiver in the red zone in Thielen. You got Irv coming back at tight end. KJ Osborne's pretty fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Who they got on defense?
They got 11 picks of the 11 picks that were taken in the first or second round that have panned out to nothing. But I was just cooking. Why'd you have to do that? I was cooking and you were like, fuck out of here, man. All right. It's cool.
No, it's good. We need to have a beef. And if it's going to be the purple people eaters of all teams, we'll be for it. Yep. I definitely agree. I think this is one of the first times we've had him tune in with us. We appreciate you. Great comments today.
Yes,
that's about it. Daily Bread Media. We do the show, the NFL Talk for you guys. We want you to be popping in the chat, Drop in what you want, screen cap it, save it for later in the season to dunk on us or to say that you're right, whatever the hell you want to do. You see all the ats under the names. Make sure to be following them because they're all producing their own type of content, putting out their own type of plays. Today was a lot of analysis with just win total talk, but you already know if you're tapped in with Daily Bread Media, we do it all. No fantasy today. If you had the number one pick, who are you going with?
John Taylor.
It's got to be Nick Chubb. I mean, come on, the guy's a tank.
John Taylor.
Number one pick, Trey Lance.
No, in fantasy?
Come on.
Fantasy football.
John
Mike Vick
Taylor.
was the only person who ever got that, and then he busted out that season. So it was probably the worst first overall fantasy pick ever.
I said what I said.
And that's why you come in last.
I finished third in our league.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's
congrats. You get a trophy for third?
Man.
I didn't make the oh no, I came in sixth. I was first round exit of the playoffs. But until tomorrow, we got episode or the 1 year anniversary of Daily Bread Media. But follow everybody, give them a like, retweet.
We made it a year, man. This is sweet.
Tried to push
Lock
as many
up.
buttons as we could. Niners team total under 10.5. Lock.
Fuck
Flock
out
out.
of here.